What's up guys, King here bringing you a review on Naruto Shippuden. Before I talk about today's episode, I just want to quickly recap on last week's episode. And yeah, last week's episode, just because I didn't do a review on it, sorry about that. I'm just busy with work guys, and I'm going to be busy next week. I'll be free a little bit next week, but the week after that I'm going to be busy, and probably the week after that, basically September, I'm going to be basically dying. That's what's going to be happening, so I'm not going to be making a lot of videos. Hopefully I'll make some next week, just to like get it balanced out. But yeah, I apologize if you don't see or hear from me for a while, because seriously I'm just getting knackered from my job. So but yeah, the last week's Naruto Shippuden was basically, how do I put it so it doesn't feel bad when I'm saying this, but it was atrocious guys. The animation for last week's episode was utter shit. The artwork was decent at times, but the animation was just appalling, and just the whole episode, it was good, don't get me wrong, it was decent, there were decent moments, but the episode as a whole just wasn't made that well. That's mostly because you had these moments where there were just images in front of you, just stiff images that weren't really moving or weren't animated, and it didn't really work. Not to mention the flashbacks. Like, I didn't have a problem with the previous episodes, with the Obito focused episodes having flashbacks, but last week's one just kind of got on my nerves, because like at this point it was pretty much done. If they had to do a recap, fair enough, 1 minute recap is good enough. 3 minutes though, no, that's just taking the piss now. And then you had that flashback towards the end as well. Like in the manga, it's very quick, it's very and to the point where Kakashi just says, you know, he hates them, and then it ends with him, I really like you now, in the present. Instead they focused on all this crap that did not need to be there, and it really irritated me and kind of took me out of the episode. Kakashi's Susanoo just wasn't given the justice it deserved. Obito's big moment, or at least helping Kakashi, it wasn't balanced very well. I mean, they could have at least pulled another episode or two out of this, and instead it just felt very rushed. And I get it, they were just adapting, following what the manga did, but for the love of God, they could have done more to this action segment, because this was the final battle. This was the last fight between Teen 7 and Kaguya, and I don't know, man, like they could have done a better job. I mean, the Kaguya episodes we were getting a while back were done very, very well, and then we get this final episode with her, and it's just not done enough justice. I mean, the final few minutes where it was all in slow motion as they're trying to seal her and stuff, that was great, don't get me wrong, but like the animation for those moments could have been better, the soundtrack could have been better. I was really crossing fingers they were going to use the new track Sleep Forever for that, and instead it was a Waltz of Wind and Fire or something. So like, yeah, it didn't, for me it just didn't fit that moment, unfortunately. So yeah, the overall episode just kind of left me like, meh, it could have been better, considering this was like the big final moment. But yeah, what are the negatives? Well, I don't have any negatives regarding how Kakashi gets to Susanoo. So many people bitched about that at the time when the manga came out, and so many people are bitching about it now. And honestly, there's no need for it. Obito, you know, he's got the chakra of the 6 powers in him. He's got the 6 powers power, and his powers are amplified. And this isn't the first time, you know, someone's chakra has come back and infested the body of someone else. You know, Minato did that with Naruto. Kushino's chakra was in Naruto. But Jesus, I'm trying to remember. The 6 powers, for Christ's sake, comes back with chakra, so it's possible. This shit has happened before. There are cases where characters have sort of come back from the dead, from limbo, to stay around for a bit, you know, for a period of certain time, and that's kind of the same thing here. It's nothing new. When Kakashi's using Susanoo or he's got the Sharingan, that's not Kakashi's eyes, or that's not his Susanoo, that's Obito's Susanoo. Obito's spirit is inhabiting Kakashi, the same kind of way that Kaguya is inhabiting Madara's body. But you know, Kaguya is possessing Madara, whereas Obito is just sort of inhabiting it, not possessing it. So like they're kind of working together in that kind of way. But yeah, I just don't get the big complaints about it. I never had a problem with it. I certainly don't have a problem with it now. So, you know, quit with the bitching, guys. Anyway, this week's episode, I just got done watching it, and yeah, I've just been crying my eyes out on those last few minutes. But this week's episode was terrific. The artwork, the animation was top notch. This is as good as it gets, guys. Studio Peria did such a good job with this. It wasn't outsourced like last week's episode obviously was. This was a top episode. They did the best that they could with what they had, and they delivered. And this episode was all about the emotions. It was all about the goodbyes, all about the resolutions. This is the episode that marks the end of the war arc, the end of the Madara arc, the end of the Hokage or Kage or whatever you like to call it arc. It's the end of end. And this episode was just a splendid finale to that. We got to say goodbye to a lot of characters. Kaguya got sealed, and Black Zetsu got owned like the little bitch he was. We got to say goodbye to Madara and Hashirama and Minato. Like a lot of goodbyes basically, and Obito as well included. This was the last time we see these guys, and it was very eventful. So how did this episode start? Yeah, like I said, we get the sealing of Kaguya. Great, and like I said, just great animation and artwork with how they did this. A little slight detail about last week's and this week's. Last week's, in the manga, when Sakura punches Kaguya, the horn breaks up. It comes off. Like, that's how hard Sakura hit Kaguya to force her down. And we get a recap of that very quickly. But then in the next shot, when Kaguya is turning into the Ten Tails and getting sealed, you can see that horn's missing. And it's like, that's such a terrible continuity issue that, I mean, I don't get how they didn't animate that part last week. So, like, how can you screw that up, right? But yeah, she gets sealed, everyone is running away, the tailed beasts are free, they're running away, Sasuke's coming, Kakashi and Sakura together, they're just wondering how the hell to get out. You've got Kaguya's spear, black ball, whatever, breaking apart, while the ground beneath them is coming up and forming another spear behind that one. So it's like, whoa, because Kaguya's getting sealed in the planetary devastation chakra or jutsu, so that's what it is. Meanwhile, you've got Black Zetsu on the floor there going, oh, I'm gonna have to repeat all of this crap again. I have to go through all that crap again, but no, and he looks up as someone approaches him, he looks up, he sees Naruto and he's like, oh shit, I'm fucked right now. And yeah, he's basically screwed because Naruto picks him up, he's trying to get him out, and Black Zetsu's like, you're a brat, I created you, I created history of Shinobi, and that just takes Naruto off the wrong way. And we've got a quick flashes of all the major characters that influenced Naruto's life, all the characters that died, from Neji to Jiraiya to Haku to Zabuza to Obito, and his parents obviously, Itachi. Like, it was just such an emotional moment, and Naruto just getting pissed and picking up this big black goo and like just tossing it, like telling him that he's the real brat and that he should learn to leave the nest himself and not stick with his mother and all that. He's just belittling him basically the same way he belittled him, and says it out front as it is. If it wasn't for these guys, if it wasn't for their deaths and their sacrifice and all these tragedies and wars, I wouldn't have become the person I am now today, and it's because of them. I've got them to thank that I am who I am now. And he holds this bastard, he holds this little bitch up to the planetary devastation. And yeah, Black Zetsu just gets slammed by the rocks. I'm pretty sure he's dead, okay? There is no ceiling or trapness or imprisonment for it. Those rocks squashed him to death. Or I'm hoping that they are squashing him enough that he's losing his breath or whatever. Because this dude has to have organs of some sort, right? Like, I'm hoping anyway, because like, I'm hoping he's suffering in there. That's what I'm hoping, guys. But yeah, a great finale with Naruto just owning Black Zetsu. And then of course, you've got the 6 paths using the 5 Kage and using the previous Kage and Kages to use a summoning jutsu basically to bring everyone back, and they all come back to the present world and everything's all dandy and happy and great, and you get these last 2 emotional moments, the first one being with Madara and Hashirama and their goodbye basically, and Madara's death. And you got this moment where Sasuke sees Madara's corpse and he's like, he's trying to run to him the same way he tried to run towards Obito to finish him off, but because like he's probably thinking to himself, yeah, I better kill this guy before he resurrects himself again or something, because the last time someone stopped me from killing an Uchiha, right, Madara came back and I got stabbed in the heart. Nah, that ain't gonna happen again. But the 6 paths obviously stops him and tells him that he's done for. There's no saving him now, and that they should just sit down and listen to the final words, to the predecessor's final words. And Madara just kind of like explained to Hashirama how he could never have people following from behind because he just didn't like people following from behind basically. That was always Madara's weakness. He never liked people just standing next to him. And how their dreams were never fulfilled, and Hashirama explained that it wasn't about fulfilling their dreams themselves but passing on their dreams onto other people so they could fulfill it perhaps. And yeah, it's just really sad how Madara just kind of goes out. It's emotional end for him. But the way he goes out in the end is kind of justified. I mean, this was a dude with a huge ego trip, and to see him just, you know, in that moment when he got betrayed, he realized that everything he ever did was just bullshit. So it was nice to see him come down a notch after that, from that event, and to see his regrets here. So it's nice. It's a nice conclusion for him. Same with Obito and Kakashi, and them saying their goodbyes as well. Like, so that was nice. It's a nice goodbye to these characters who we're never gonna see him, but who had major influence on the Shinobi world and this war as well. So yeah, it's also great how both. It's poetic, really, if you think about it. It's poetic how both Madara and Obito died with their backs towards someone. In Madara's case, he got betrayed by the one person he thought would never ever stab him in the back, because he thought it was his will. But Black Zetsu obviously wasn't his will, and you know, he betrayed him at the moment he thought he had just fulfilled his dream, only to have that dream snatched away from him as well, when Black Zetsu pretty much told him that no, this jutsu you just performed isn't putting everyone into a happy gold dream lucky. They're in a dream, yes, but eventually they're gonna turn into fucking mindless monsters, so you've just pretty much sent everyone to their deaths. And it's not even the first time that Madara got betrayed. The first time was when Hashirama stabbed him in the back. You know, again, when he was having his fight with Hashirama in the final valley, he never thought his best friend, who was always this preachy, good, honest guy, would end up tricking him like that. He never saw that coming. So when it happened, it was very unexpected. And obviously, Black Zetsu watching from afar, from the distance, and seeing that was Madara's weak spot, he used that to his advantage here when he stabbed him in the back. And it was also ironic that he was losing Obito's body, because in a way Obito got to have his revenge on Madara, even if he was unconscious and didn't see it happen. But then you have Obito's case, right, where no one's stabbing him in the back. Instead, you've got Naruto behind him trying to heal him, and Naruto is pretty much his worst enemy. I mean, this is the kid who has every right to murder him, because Obito killed his parents and he screwed a lot of things up. He screwed his life up, basically. He killed the Uchihas. This is a guy who should pretty much be torn apart. Now, Naruto has every right to murder him, but he doesn't. Instead, he's trying to heal him, trying to save him. And that's the big difference and contrast between how Madara went out and how Obito went out. How Madara went out full of regrets and no redemption, basically, and how Obito went out having at least sort of redeemed himself, but still being full of regret, but at least passing on some hope onto the next generation, and telling Naruto that yes, while he will suffer in the future, hopefully, you know, he should never ever turn his back from his ninja way, and to do what he could not, to stay on his path, to always be true to himself. And that's something he passes on, whereas Madara didn't have anyone there to pass anything on. You know, Obito died with his friend there, and with people, at least with someone that wanted to save him, whereas Madara went out with no one there. And then you get the final moment in this episode, obviously, with Obito having his goodbye with Kakashi, and Madara having at least some sort of at least apologizing moment with Hashirama and a goodbye with him. So that was lovely and nice. And then of course you get the big emotional moment at the end with Naruto and Minato, which was pretty much the part that made me shed tears. I mean, seriously, I hope I'm not the only one. I'm sure there are a lot of people who were crying their eyes out watching this moment here, because the soundtrack for this part was just emotional, and what was being said was emotional, with Naruto like pretty much telling his dad everything that Kushina told him when he was born, and answering those for his dad to tell her that yeah, he is eating those kinds of foods, he's got a lot of friends, he tries his best at studying, etc, etc. And obviously the best moment, really, in my opinion, being when Minato says happy birthday to Naruto just as the sunrise comes up and the new day starts. So that was very, very poetic, and that had a lot of symbolism as well, because that pretty much marked the end of the war. That was the end of the war right there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And just the overall ending and how it all went out, beautiful. Just the animation, artwork, and the writing, just everything just came together very well. And like I said, this episode was pretty much all about resolution, and it was a very, very good resolution. And now, obviously, we got the setup for next week. Now we got next week to look forward to. And yeah, speaking of next week, we also had a new opening as well today. Still the same song, but now a different opening, which is pretty much consists of Naruto and Sasuke fighting from the part 1 self to the part 2 self to the ending part. And that was just great, with Sasuke just, you know, shooting Chidori at Naruto from across Madara's statue, Hashirama's statue blowing up, and Naruto jumping in the end, coming in with Rasengan. It's pretty much a big hint from the animators and to the audience that yeah, the final fight is now coming up. Next week we're obviously not getting the final fight, we're getting the setup for it, we're getting Sasuke's revolution, if you will. And then the week after that, we may get the fight, or it's gonna adapt one chapter which is just Naruto and Sasuke talking about Sasuke's version of Hokage, and then the fight will be in episode 477 instead, and not 76. But fingers crossed, the fight starts the week after. Not next week, obviously the week after. But yeah, we're this close now, guys. We're this close. Naruto Shippuden is finally coming towards the end. This was a great episode, very emotional episode, one of the best episodes Studio Perry has done. Great finale to a lot of characters, a lot of goodbyes done. So yeah, man, I'm just very happy with this episode, really am, and I can't wait for next week. The preview for next week looks good. The animation artwork looks different enough, but it looks good. It looks like a different style they're going for, but it looks, like I said, it looks good. It looks fluent. It doesn't look as stiff and unmoving as last week's episode was. So yeah, hopefully from today to next week, to the week after that, we'll just have top-notch quality episodes. So fingers crossed, guys, fingers crossed, because this is the end and I want a good final. That's what I want. I want good top-notch episodes from here to now to the end. And yeah, guys, I hope you like this review. Like, subscribe, whatever, and I shall see you when I shall see you. Take care, and bye.